We dedicate learning today to Steve's nephew who passed away tragically yesterday. Steve, it's Idan Ben.
Idan Ronen Ben Sasson Eliezer.
So in the middle of the shoes with these pegs or nails and screws in them, and we saw machlokas what amount of screws and pegs are permissible and what kind of shoes are prohibited and which are permissible. Now we saw that Rebbe said up to 7 remaining. If there was too many and they were removed and there's only 7 left, it's permissible. So Gemara says, "Vatan Rebbe matat shalosh esrei." So, but we learned earlier that Rebbe said that even 13 are permitted if the sole was not straight and you put it in order to straighten it out. Gemara says, "Nota shiny." There, it's different because it is since it's leaning. They're needed in order to balance out the footsteps, and it's not there just to hold it together. But to hold it together, 7 is sufficient, and that's why that's permissible and no more. If that's the case, so then we don't have a question of Rabbi Yochanan earlier, who said 5. Nota shani. It's not going to be a question for Rabbi Yochanan because nota is going to be different. When it's leaning, you're allowed for more. When it's not leaning, that's when the shoe is even, then 5 is sufficient to hold it together. In the name of Ramasna, Ein halacha Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Shimon. When Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Shimon prohibited as muktzah the shoes that have these pegs in them on account of that maybe you're going to put it on, that halacha is not like that. So the Gemara says, Pshita, that seems pretty obvious. Yachid v'rabim, halachik v'rabim. That's always the rule. Whenever you have a majority and minority, you're going to go with the minority, with majority over the minority. And this is, the Chachamim say it's permissible to, and it's not muktzah. And Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon is the one that said that you're not allowed to handle it in case you may put it on. So why would we follow Rabbi Eliezer bar Shimon there? Why do we need to say the halacha is not that way? The Gemara says, no, I need to tell you that because his logic is correct that if you can handle these shoes, yet you're not allowed to wear it, if you're going to use it for covering a pot or stabilizing a bed, well, you may end up wearing it. But Kamash Malan, that nevertheless, Allah is not that way. Amar Abchia, ilav the karli bavloi shari isura. If not for being nicknamed the Babylonian, who permits things that are prohibited, Sharina Beituva, I would have permitted many more pegs in the shoe in this case, in such a shoe. The Kama, so how much? But Pumbedisa Amrin Esrim V'Arba. In Pumbedisa they said that Rabbi Chia would have allowed 24. Mesura Amrin Esrim V'Taratin. And Surah, they said it was 22. As you know, that there were 2 major academies in Bavel. It was the yeshiva of Pumbedisa and the yeshiva of Surah. And Rabbi Chia, who originally came from Bavel, went and studied in Eretz Yisrael by Rebbe and remained in Eretz Yisrael. So he was afraid that they would call him Bavloi Shari Isura, the Babylonian who permits the prohibited. He would have allowed 24 or 22 pegs, either Surah or Pumbedisa, having the different traditions. Which the Gemara says, if you want to remember who permitted it more, so Pumbedisa and Surah on the way to Bavel, on the way to Eretz Yisrael, so from the travel from Surah to Pumbedisa, and then to Eretz Yisrael. So by the time you've come from Pumbedisa to Surah, Chaser Tati, you've dropped 2 pegs, 2 nails of these shoes. So in any case, in Pumbedisa they would have allowed 24. and in Surah 22. But nevertheless, Reb Chia never conclusively said that is permissible, only that he would have. So in the Mishnah we said, "V'lo biyachid b'zman she'em b'raglav maka." A person may not walk out with one shoe if he doesn't have an injury on his foot. As we saw in the Mishnah, Rashi explained that there was a concern. The Yerushalmi says that people may suspect him that he's carrying the other one, or that people may laugh at him, and then he's going to take off the shoe that he is wearing because he doesn't want people to laugh at him. So when he has a wound, why is it permissible? So yesh b'raglav maka nafik. When he has a wound on an injured leg, he may wear the shoe. With which one is he going to go out? Amar Avuna. So Avuna said, and the wound that has a maka, and the wound that has, the leg that has a wound, that's the one that he's going to wear the shoe on. And so it's there really to protect the injury from getting worse. Alma kasava sandal shum tzara. So we see that we're talking about the sandal that he's going to put on. It's there because of the pain of the foot that is injured, and it's there to protect it. V'chiyah barav Amar, however, Chiyah barav, he says, "Ba'osa she'em b'maka." It's the one that does not have a wound. That's the one that he's putting the shoe on. So he's putting a shoe on to wear like we wear shoes. But on one foot, he can't put the shoe on because it's uncomfortable because he has a wound. That is there for pleasure, as we know that many people walk barefoot, and the walking around with a shoe is actually, in the times of Chazal, is considered a mafunak, somebody, a istanis, somebody who is particular about not stepping outside barefoot. And so the shoe, the single shoe is there, l'shem tainig, is there for extra comfort. V'zushi yesh maka, makasa machachas alav. And what about the wound? The wounded leg is showing everyone that the reason I only have one shoe and not the other is because I have a wound on the foot. And therefore, he's not going to end up carrying the one shoe and taking it off because he's not going to be embarrassed by the fact that he only has one shoe on. People won't laugh at him because they realize that he has a wound, and he's not going to be embarrassed by it. And also, people won't think that he's carrying the one shoe and under his garment because they realize he has a wound. So either by the way he's walking or limping, so it'll be seen. So either way, people will understand that he's wearing one shoe, either on the foot that's injured or on the other foot. He's not going to end up carrying it. But if somebody who's wearing only one shoe without a wound on any of the legs, essentially, either it looks like, as the Yerushalmi said, and Rashi brought it earlier, it looks like he's carrying the other shoe somewhere in his pocket or under his garment, or it looks like it looks so funny. Someone's going to laugh at him, and he's going to take the shoe off and carry it so as not to be embarrassed. Rabbi Yochanan also follows Rav Huna, which is that the wounded foot is the one that you wear the shoe on. Rabbi Yochanan was putting on his shoes, and he asked Shimon bar Abba to pass him his shoe. He gave him only the right shoe. Amalei asiyasei maka. You made it as if I have an injury on this one foot. So he gave him the shoe, his right shoe alone. And so he says, if I walk out with one shoe, it must be because I have an injured leg. And which foot would be the injury? The one that I'm putting the shoe on, because he said he made my right look like it's injured. The Gemara says, well, how do you know? Maybe he follows the logic of Chiyah Barav that he's putting on the shoe on the leg that works. And this is what he meant. Asiyasa shel smoil maka. You made it as if I have an injury, not on this foot that you gave me the shoe for, but that I have an injury, period, and it would be on the left foot. The Gemara says, but nevertheless, it is it is based upon Rabbi Yochanan's teaching. The reason that he thought that the fact that he gave him the right shoe first is a indication that he's only going to wear one shoe. It's based on, as we're about to see, that Rabbi Yochanan said a statement that you have to put on your left shoe first. And if you have to put on your left shoe first, and he gave him the right one, so that's going to be the only one. Whether because he wouldn't put on the right one without having put the left one on, or once he put on the right one, he no longer will put the left one on. Either way, it's an indication that he's only wearing the one right shoe, and that must be because of the injury. That just as tefillin, we put on the left arm and wrap it there. Kachman olim, so too shoes. Ma tefillin b'smoil, just as the tefillin goes on the right arm and the left arm, the right hand puts it on the left arm. Afman olim b'smoil, so too the tefillin, the shoe need to be put on the left. And this was, and we know that tefillin's on the left because the Torah wrote yadcha with a hey at the end, as opposed to the final chaf, and so that we learned to Menachos is the basis for tefillin on the left hand, and that means yad kahe, the weaker hand. In any case, so too you have to put on your left shoe first. Meisave. We have a brisa.
Switch with his shoes too.
Sorry.
Does an iter turn switch with his shoe too?
I didn't hear that.
Does a lefty switch his shoes too?
Does a lefty switch his shoe?
I mean, does it follow filling? So if I'm doing my filling on that one, then I do my shoe on that one.
Yeah. There are many halachas about lefties of what they actually do with the left and right, and there are opinions. I think for in each one of the matters, his opinion. There's a machlokas, and some say do it this way, some say do it that way. It's not so. I don't know about shoes in particular, but it's. I think I think you can rest assured that in every aspect, there's a machlokas of whether lefty should do it with their left hand, like everyone else, or with their weak hand, like which is the right hand. So anyhow, Rabbi Yochanan says you should put on your shoe in the left. So the Gemara says, Meisave, we have a contradiction from a brisa. Kashu noel shall yamin, v'achakach noel shall smoil. The brisa says that whenever when he's going to put on his shoe, he should put on the right shoe first. Now that we have a brisa that says you should put on the right shoe first. Rabbi Yochanan said that on account of the tefillin, you should put your left shoe first. The avid hachi of it, or the avid hachi of it. If you did it this way, it's fine, and if you did it that way, it's fine. Now, the basis of the brisa putting your right shoe on first, it's based on the many mitzvahs that we do with our right hand. It's true that tefillin we do on our left hand, but there are many mitzvahs that we do specifically with the right. We had in the previous parshas with some of the purification processes that that the Kohen would put the oil on the right earlobe and right finger, right thumb, and right big toe. And we have even tefillin itself. You put it on with your right hand. The mitzvah of chalitza is on with the right hand. Many other mitzvahs like that. In any case, so this is not it's not unique to tefillin that you do it with your left hand. There are mitzvahs as well that you do with your right hand. And so the brisa says to do with your right, to put on your shoes with the right hand. And the Rabbi Yochanan says to do it with your left, to put your right shoe first. And Rabbi Yochanan says to put the left shoe first. And therefore, whichever one you do is okay. Now, so what was the problem that Rabbi Yochanan had with Rabbi Shimon bar Abba that he gave him his right shoe first? Since Rabbi Yochanan always did the left first, and he gave him the right shoe, so he wouldn't put the left one on, and therefore he said, you make it look like I have a wound on one of my feet. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan didn't know about this brisa. But if he had known of this brisa, he would have retracted his teaching that you have to put the shoe on your left foot first. And if he did, and if he did know of this brisa and said, then the halacha is not like this brisa, that then we should follow Rabbi Yochanan. Indeed, somebody who's Yerei Shamayim can fulfill both of these brisa, both of these halachas. And who is this Yerei Shamayim that did that? Mon and Thursday, he fulfilled Rabbi Yochanan as well as the brisa. Heichi of it. How did he do so? Siyem Dimini. He first put on his right shoe. V'loy katar, but he didn't tie it. V'siyem Dismali, he put on his left shoe. V'katar, and he tied it. V'hadar katar Dimini, and then he tied his right shoe. Now, since the concept of tefillin is by binding and tying the straps of the tefillin on your hand, that's the way the mitzvah is done. So the binding of the shoe is also done left first. But putting on the shoe, you do right first, because the right you do many mitzvahs with. Amar Rav Ashi Chazina of Kahana Doli Kapit. Rav Ashi says, I saw Rav Kahana, and he was not careful which way he did it. So Gemara now is going to go in that brisa that says you put the right shoe on first, and you give us other things we do that are done right first. Tana Rabbanan. Kashu noel sheyamin v'achakach noel shel smol. When he puts on his shoes, he puts his right shoe first, and then he puts his left shoe on. Kashu choletz shel smol v'achakach choletz shel yamin. When he takes off his shoes, he takes his left shoe off first, and then his right shoe. Kashu roichetz shel yamin v'achakach roichetz shel smol. When he's washing himself, he washes his right side first, his right hand first, and then the left. Kashu sach shel yamin v'achakach shel smol. He's putting on oils, anointing. He's going to do his right side first, and then his left side. And if he's going to do his entire body, he's going to put the oils on his head first, because it is king over all because he's king of all of his limbs. I didn't see it this time when I was looking, but I seem to remember that the basis of all of these is that in the times of Gemara, people didn't bathe very often, as we've seen multiple times already in the Gemara, and people didn't necessarily wear shoes. These were considered luxuries. These were considered a pinuk. Somebody was taking extra care of themselves. It was someone who was very, how do you say, istanis or mafunak.
It's finicky.
Someone is finicky. Okay. Sorry?
Fastidious.
Someone who's very particular. Someone who pampers themselves, right? Somebody who is really taking care of themselves. So these were extra blessing that somebody can bathe or put oils on themselves or wear a shoe. These were considered extra blessings, not a typical thing that for people to do. So the fact that you have a blessing, an extra pampering for yourself, so that is a bracha that comes from Hashem. And so recognition that the mitzvahs we do is the blessing we have from Hashem, and the extra special pampering that we can give ourselves, we do those extra things by doing the right first over the left, or in the case of tying the shoe, similar to tefillin, to do the left first.
And then with the starting from the head, we do that in the shower too. Is that right?
It's the same idea. Whenever bathing or anointing, these are things that were considered a luxury, and so Chazal said, do those on the head or right side first, because that's where the mitzvahs are coming from.
But not on Yom Tov. Okay.
You would not put oil on your head on Yom Tov. Why not?
Just kidding.
Sorry, I don't get the joke.
I said no showers on Yom Tov.
I don't get jokes. I'm sorry.
It wasn't a joke. It was serious.
Oh. All righty. Malebet tefillin. For those of you that don't know, this is once a year, Michael will tell us that there's no showering on Yom Tov. Right, Michael?
I think Michael is more wet.
Sorry?
I think that's flattery. I don't think it's only me, but yeah, I do.
I'll have at least one bad pun, but I was going to say Michael is all wet.
Well, that's because I was rowing the boat ashore. But anyway, yeah. I don't think it's my particular thing, but
In the Daf Yomi? I haven't heard it from anyone else.
well, that's because Rabbi feedback's not in the Daf Yomi, so that's
Oh, okay.
I have to represent.
Thank goodness. Velebet tefillin. So you can't wear tefillin out in the public on Shabbos. So the Gemara says, "Amar of Safra leitema aliba demand Amar Shabbos lavs man tefillin." Not only according to the opinion that Shabbos is not the time for tefillin, and therefore it would make sense that you can't wear it in a public domain because it's not a garment. It's not a tachshit. It's not a mitzvah to do. But even according to the opinion that says a Shabbos is the time for tefillin, and therefore you're obligated in wearing tefillin, nevertheless, you don't walk out with them on Shabbos. Because maybe you're going to take it off and in the public domain, and then you're going to carry it. The ikada masu la seifa. Those that say it the other way around. The next part of the Mishnah says that even if you did take it off, even if you did wear it in a public domain, you have not transgressed Shabbos, the Oraisa, and you don't have to bring a chatas. Now, Amar of Safra said, this is not only according to the opinion, as we'll see later, the machlokas of whether or not Shabbos is the time for tefillin or not. And our mission is not only according to the opinion that you're obligated on tefillin and Shabbos, and therefore if you walk out in the public domain with it, it's not going to be a biblical prohibition. But even according to the opinion that Shabbos is not the time for tefillin, and you shouldn't be wearing it. Nevertheless, there is no chatas, there's no Torah prohibition for having worn it in a public domain. My time because after all, you are wearing it. It is being done in a manner of an adornment of a garment, and as such, even though you shouldn't do so, because you may come to take it off, it nevertheless is not going to be a Torah prohibition of carrying, because you are wearing it. You're wearing it in a manner that it is worn. We'll see more about this machlokas later on. Seemingly a three-way machlokas of whether you're obligated to wear tefillin on Shabbos, you're not obligated but allowed to wear tefillin on Shabbos, you're not allowed to wear tefillin on Shabbos. Three-way machlokas. So here we're going to begin this subject of amulets, and it's pretty complicated in understanding the Gemara. Rashi and Tues have two different directions here, but the concept we already started to see in regards to an animal. Wearing an amulet for refuah, for healing, it's not a pendant that is actually as a jewelry, but rather it would be considered a malbush, a garment for the one who needs it because they're ill, and this is something that will heal them. Now, in order to establish that it indeed is something that will heal them, and therefore it's a garment and not not a masui, not something that they are carrying when they wear it outside. It has to be established that it works. Now, there are multiple ways of establishing that it works. This particular formulated amulet has worked to heal this person 3 times. It has worked to heal someone 3 times. It has worked to heal this particular ailment 3 times. The writer of this, the scribe of this amulet, who formulated it, has a history 3 times writing something that worked for this ailment. He wrote 3 times and healed any ailment. So the Gemara is going to tell us that we have 2 of these versions, that this person that wrote the amulet healed 3 people, or 3 of his amulets, meaning worked healed 3 people, or it healed this person. This particular formula worked 3 times. Now Rashi and Tues are disagree as to what other variables are we talking about. Do we know that it healed this person 3 times, and therefore, this scribe has written 3 formulas that worked, and therefore any formula he writes is going to be okay? That's the way Rashi says. The Tues, Rush, and others say no. That's too broad. Just because he was successful in 2 of them and 3 of them doesn't mean he'd be successful in others. And so the Gemara means using one of those would be sufficient. Or a particular amulet itself that worked. So let's see how the Gemara explains it. And we're going to go with Rashi, even though Tues has some questions, and there are some, Russia has some questions, and there are some things that remain unresolved on the surface, according to Rashi. A kameya may not be worn if it is not from an expert, someone who is known as an expert. So we don't need that the person himself has become an expert, meaning that this person made this particular amulet for 3 different people, and it worked. So therefore, we say he healed with this particular amulet 3 different people, and so he's an expert, and the amulet is an expert. Well, the amulet's not an expert, but the amulet is proven to work. So the person himself would become established if he wrote 3 different types of amulets for 3 different ailments to 3 different people, and it worked. So then he's proven to be the expert, because it's not this amulet because he wrote 3 different amulets, and it's not the ailment because it's for 3 different ailments, and it's not the person that got healed because he healed 3 different people. So it must be the only consistent in those 3 is the person that wrote it. So we see he's an expert. And that would be sufficient. So even though that this is the first time he wrote this particular amulet, or even if he wrote it once before, but it doesn't have a track record of 3 times, since he has a track record of 3 times writing an amulet and it working, that's going to be enough. Dekanami. So the Gemara says our Mishnah itself seems to indicate that we're talking about that the person himself is an expert, even though this particular amulet has never been proven to work. You're allowed to wear it on Shabbos. Diktani v'lebe kameya, you can't walk out with a kameya bizman she'eina min mumche, if it doesn't come from an expert writer. And it doesn't say in a time that it isn't established to work. Shmamina, so we see that it's all, as long as it comes from an expert, it's going to be allowed to be worn, and because it's going to be considered a beged, it's a garment because this person needs healing, and we know that this is going to work as a healing. How do we know? Because it comes from an expert. So the Gemara brings a brisa that tells us how to establish a kameya. What kameya can be counted as one we know would heal and therefore is permissible to be worn on Shabbos because it's a garment for the one that needs healing? Kol sharipa v'shana v'shalosh. Anything that healed once, twice, three times. Echad kameya shel ksav, echad kameya shel likron. Regardless of whether it's a written formula this amulet is, or if it's a potion, a spice formula that somebody ground up some spices and says this is wear this and it'll heal. Echad chayla sheish, but it's a kind of echad chayla sheim, it's a kind of regardless of whether it healed someone that was deathly ill or it healed someone that had a minor illness. L'she nichpe. And not only someone who was already ill and it brought them back from the healing, or rather somebody who was around people who were sick or was likely to have gotten sick and wore the amulet and didn't get sick, it's also proven to save them. And the brisa continues, v'kosher omatir, and he's allowed to untie the amulet and retie it on Shabbos. Afilu b'reshus harabim, and even in a public domain, and he can wear it even in public domain as long as he doesn't bind them in a ring or into his necklace, into some sort of jewelry. V'yetze b'reshus harabim and mishum harasayin. And he can go out in the public with it, but he can't go out with it as a pendant on his necklace, because then it looks like it's just jewelry and not a garment, which is necessary for his healing. So Gemara says we have a contradiction. There's a brisa that says that it's only going to be considered an expert or an established kameya if it healed three people, three different people. Whereas in the previous brisa it said as long as it healed three times, seemingly even one person himself. This brisa requires that it would have healed three different people. What the information missing is it the same ailment or a different ailment? So Gemara says, "Lo kashe, halim chuye gavra, halim chuye kameya." It depends what we're trying to establish. The way Rashi says is like this: that hadiktani, this that we said in the brisa, that three people need to be healed by this. Probably we're talking about three people from three different ailments. And therefore, it's going to be three different amulets. So it's not establishing the amulet, because the amulet is going to be different for each one because it's three different ailments. And therefore, all we're establishing is the person, the scribe who wrote this amulet, or the one who put this potion together. That's where we establish that he knows what he's doing. And since he wrote three amulets and that were different, and each one of them healed a person, three different people from three different ailments. So therefore, we know three times he was successful. The next one he's going to write, even though that it's a different formula for a different ailment, for a different person, he's an expert. And forever, unless three times it was established that it didn't work, he is now considered an expert, and therefore it may be worn on Shabbos because the person wearing it is wearing it as a healing, and so it's a garment. So Rashi extends this pretty broadly and says, as long as he wrote three amulets whether it's, even though that it's 3 different formulas and it's for 3 different ailments, and each time was a different person, nevertheless, he's now established as a good amulet writer, and all the amulets he's going to write from here on are going to be considered established as working, and it can be worn on Shabbos.
It's a Maris Ein problem. It's a Maris Ein problem. So I look at at Reuven walking down the street with an amulet. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's passed this test or not.
No. The Maris Ein is only going to be if it's on as a pendant on jewelry. Where there, somebody's to say, is that for healing or is that jewelry? That's the top line of the Gemara in Samach Aleph Amid Beis is saying, don't put it on jewelry, because if you do, it may look like you're wearing it just as a pendant and not as an actual healing. But if you wear it on its own, on its own wrapping, its own thread, its own, however you wear it on its own. We'll see later in the Gemara, even if you're holding it, could be in your hand, that's considered a garment because it's not as a jewelry. It's there for healing, as long as it comes from a mumcha. And
but that as long as it comes from a mumcha part, how do I, as an observer, know that Reuven's amulet they didn't get it at a souvenir shop, and
we don't know that.
It was a copy.
Right. The only time we would be concerned of that is when it looks like it's not being worn for healing, when it's on a piece of jewelry, so it looks like a pendant. But indeed, if it was anytime somebody's wearing it, and we assume, okay, that it's probably as a medical thing, and so it counts as a garment. But the person themselves must know that it only counts as a garment if it actually has a reputation of working. And for that, you need to establish either the person who wrote it or the amulet.
But what I'm asking about Marisain is, it's exactly the opposite. We see someone doing something that is totally mutter, but we assume that it's usher. We assume that it's not beets meat or whatever it's called. We assume it's a hamburger and he's put cheese on it.
Right. That's because it actually looks like the prohibition. It looks like a prohibition, and it just happens to be permissible because there's something, a piece of information that I don't have, which is that it's fake meat or something. Here we're talking about it's actually a garment. An amulet is a garment as long as it works. It's only going to look prohibited if they wear it as a pendant on jewelry. So now, wait, is that jewelry or is it a garment? And it may be a garment, but it looks like jewelry. So that's why you can't wear it on your chain, on your necklace. But if you're wearing it on its own, so then it looks like an amulet. And amulets are permissible. So it doesn't look like marasayin. It doesn't look like you're doing a prohibition. It may actually be prohibited if you don't know that it's an established working amulet. In any case, so Rashi says that you can establish sorry? I thought someone was speaking. Okay. So you can establish the person as an expert writer as long as they've written 3 that worked, even if it's a different formula, a different ailment, different people, that's what that person is going to be established. And as we mentioned earlier, Tues and the Rush have questions on this and disagree. Amar Papa, Pshitali plus Kameil plus Gavri plus Zimni is Machi Gavra. It's obvious that if you wrote 3 different amulets for 3 different people on 3 different times, the person is established as a good writer. And Rashi says, and therefore can continue writing any type of amulet and it will be permissible. And Tues and the Rush, as we said, says no, those that worked, even though they only worked once, but those would be established as working. Vesmachi kameya, and the kameya itself is okay, is established when tlasa kameya tlasa gavri chad zimna gavri ismachi kameya lo ismachi. If he wrote 3 different amulets for 3 people, each one time, the person is an expert, the kameya is not an expert and can't be worn on Shabbos. Ismachi chad kameya l'tlasa gavri. If he wrote the one amulet for 3 different people, but it's the same formula in the amulet. Kameya ismachi, gavri lo ismachi. So then the amulet may be what's working, not the person who wrote it, and therefore this amulet may be worn, but not other amulets written by this person may not be worn. Blair of Papa. Tlasa kamei l'chad gavramai. When he wrote 3 different amulets for 3 different ailments, so three formulas for 3 ailments, but it all to the same person. So now, do we say that this particular person receives amulets well, but another person may not? The kamei itself, for sure, is not proven because it was a different formula for each one. Gavre esmachi. What about the writer, the scribe who wrote it? For him, it works. It's proof. It's proof, or not. Do we say, look, 3 times he wrote an amulet and it worked and he healed a guy? Maybe this person just amulets work for him, but the writer has is not an expert. It's the recipient that is receiving them well. So we don't know the answer to that, and we don't know whether that's enough to wear on Shabbos and Tishbi Yataretz Kushus Yibas. Let's try and establish from our Mishnah whether these amulets that were written and they have whether it's Hashem's name in it or Pesukim, they have some formulas in there that may be considered kadosh, and therefore they're holy and not allowed and need to be treated as such. So they need to be treated as such in regards to which halacha? It's that you need to save it from a fire. We'll see later. You're not allowed to carry in a public domain. You're not even allowed to carry into your courtyard. But the courtyard, as we mentioned yesterday, is really midoraisa. On a Torah level, you're allowed to carry in the courtyard. But people think of the courtyard, which services many houses, as a public domain. And therefore, Chazal said you can't carry there unless there's an eruv. If you didn't make an eruv and there's a fire in the house, and you need to save things, so you can't take things out into the courtyard, because for monetary issues you can't break Shabbos. However, if you have Sifrei Kodesh, if you have a Sefer Torah for sure, tefillin, so you're allowed to save those. What about an amulet? Are you allowed to save that? Tashema, so that we already learned. Habarachos, siddur that has blessings in it, vakamein, or amulets which have words of kedusha in it. Avapisheyesh ben osios, even though it has Hebrew lettering, even if it has the name of Hashem in it, and many subject matters of the Torah. You're not allowed to carry them out on Shabbos. We have to allow them tragically to be burned in their place. So that can't be the question whether the amulet has kedusha, because we clearly learned you have to leave it there. Rather, in regards to whether it needs to be buried after you stop using it, does it have to be put away in Geniza like Sefer Kodesh that is no longer in use? Tashema, that too we learned that if you have a formula of amulet written on the handle of a pot or something like that, you have to cut them off and put it away. So we know that it does require Geniza. Ella, so the question is in regards to whether you're allowed to wear it into a bathroom. Ella, can you walk into the bathroom with it? Yesh behem kedusha v'aser. It's holy, and so you can't walk into a bathroom. Or there's no holiness, and you're allowed to walk in. Tashabasa, we're going to prove it from our halacha. You're not allowed to walk out in a public domain with a kameya unless it's from an expert. But if it's from an expert, you can wear it. Wait, but the person may have to go to the restroom, and if they go to the bathroom, they're going to have to take it off, and then they're going to carry it. He's going to end up carrying it in the public domain because he took it off to go to the restroom. You're right. Our mission that allows it is not talking about a scroll that has the names of Hashem or something holy written on it. It's talking about a potion. That's a kind of amulet they're allowed to walk around with. Vatanya, that can't be. The Brisa says that regardless of whether it's written or it's a potion. Talking about he's very ill, and therefore even if he takes it off, it's going to be permissible because of pikuach nefesh, because he needs it to protect him because he's so deathly ill, or as we'll say. But we see that regardless of whether he's very ill or not, he's allowed to walk out with this amulet, since it heals him. Even though he's carrying it in his hand, it does count as wearing it, because for him, this is a part of his garment on account of that it heals him. So however he has it, whether he's wearing it on a chain, whether he's holding it in his hand, this heals him. This is what is healing him, and as such, it's a garment and allowed to be carried in the public domain.
Just want to say a kameah shel ikarim could be a kameah shel kameah.